You're listening to ebizradio.com, the place to go if you want to know about the world of business and the business of the world. I'm Ingrid von Stein, and joining me in studio today is author and publisher Vanessa Wilson. Vanessa, you recently wrote a book and have just published it. It's called Publish Like a Pro. I'm going to take the liberty of reading a little bit from the foreword of the book because I think it contextualizes the conversation we're going to have. So you want to write a book, you've got a great idea, a compelling message, and a unique story. But the simple truth is that writing a book is hard work and requires an enormous amount of determination and perseverance. So for many authors, self-publishing is often a way to go. This book that you've written, that you collaborated with Georgina Hatch, Georgina is not with us in studio today, but Vanessa is how to self-publish, the journey of self-publishing. So Vanessa, before we even get there, what I'd like to understand from you is, how did you land up, firstly as the founder of Quick Fox Publishing, and then as an author? You've taken a step from behind the screen to in front of the screen, and you've now authored a book yourself. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you landed up in the publishing industry.
Sure. It all started when funny enough, this is not my first book. I co-authored another book. We were considering going the traditional route, but I didn't think that a publisher would be interested. It was a book called Laugh Out Loud. It turned out to be a local bestseller, believe it or not. It was a book of internet humor. And I just thought, I have a graphic design background. I have done book production before. So it made sense for me to try and do that book myself. I collaborated with someone else, Vivian Smithdorf, and we produced the book. We put it on the market and it did really, really well. I then started a website to share my experiences with other people, with other authors. And before I knew it, people were coming to me asking if I could help them publish their books. So that's how I actually got into the business. I didn't choose it. The business, in a way, chose me. And Quick Fox Publishing grew from there.
It's a fascinating story because many people who land up founding and thriving in business landed up there by default. It was something that they were passionate about. But in the process of moving from being a graphic designer to then publishing a book, great that your first book out was a great hit, is you learn so many things. And one of the things in business today is people like to hold on to their learnings and their insights. And the thing that I found about you and the business is that you're so willing to share. So it was a natural migration to move into publishing a book about publishing and how to do it professionally. If we can just contextualize a little bit, can you just give me an overview of what types of publishing there are? I know they're the big publishing houses and people like Roald Dahl or the lady that wrote Harry Potter, her name slips me at the moment, have gone that traditional publisher route. Can you tell me the fundamental difference between a big publishing house and self-publishing?
Sure. A big traditional publisher will traditionally, they'll look at the book, they'll assess it, they will see if it has marketability. Unfortunately, their criteria for marketability rests on numbers, quantities, how many books they can sell. So they will take on books that they believe that they can sell a lot of, and they take all the responsibility for producing the book. They fund it, they market it, they get it into the distribution chain, and all that the author has to do is hand over the manuscript and then sit back and they get their royalties off sales. Obviously, authors do have to participate in that they need to make themselves available for publicity appearances. So the more marketable an author is, the better for the traditional publisher. They like authors who have many books, I say up their sleeves, but many books in the process, or who at least can generate books so that the publisher, the efforts the publisher makes in the beginning, can pay off over the longer term. So they like marketable authors. The self-publishing route is where the author does everything themselves. So they take on the role of the publisher. Most self-publishing authors do get the help of service providers, so they will enlist a company like mine to help with the editing, the design, the book makeup, ebook conversion, printing. But at the end of the day, the responsibility for marketing the book, making it known, is actually the self-publishing authors. So the models are very different. The bookstore trade works well with traditional publishing because traditional publishers are printing volumes and they get their unit costs really low. Self-publishers tend to produce lower quantities, which means unit costs are higher. So that type of marketing is best when it's direct-to-customer marketing, direct-to-customer sales. So as a self-publishing author, you really need to know your market. You cannot be afraid to go out there and promote and push your book. And it's best done through public talks, through seminars. If you're a company and you have clients, sell the book to clients. So it's definitely a model aimed at more of a one-on-one selling situation.
You know, the route of self-publishing, I mean, I've spent quite a bit of time going through the book. I found it very easy to read. I love the little section at the back where you can make notes. And it literally is a step-for-step process. And a lot of people do need hand-holding. I might have an idea for an amazing book and I might be able to write, but not every writer is an editor. So, I mean, I would highly recommend that people actually approach a company like yourself to take you through the process. You've done this so many times. I'm now going to address the big pink elephant in the room, because one of the things we'll hear in the marketplace is, oh, self-publishing is the cheap, nasty route to go. And it has a bit of a negative stigma attached to it. However, we are seeing things change. Can you tell me how in the last 5 years the self-publishing industry has changed?
I think it's changed because of the emergence of more companies who are providing professional services. I have noticed more people moving out of traditional publishing and starting their own businesses. So we're talking publishers or people who were publishing directors. My co-author, incidentally, was a publishing director at Strake back in the days when Strake was still Strake. So I think with more service providers who come from a professional environment, they bring that professional expertise with them. Unfortunately, there is still a large segment of the self-publishing market that remains cheap and nasty. You know, it's so easy to publish. You just take your manuscript, your Word doc, you go onto Amazon, onto their publishing forum or their publishing platform, and you upload your manuscript. You can even design your own cover and make a JPEG of it. So there's nothing stopping people from doing that, and that will always happen. Some people have no money to publish, so they will also take shortcuts. But I think as I said, with the emergence of professional companies and more of them emerging, I think that's going to change. We've got a long way to go, and that's part of what I'm passionate about, is through the book as well, is empowering authors, showing them how to do it. I think a lot of the time it's because authors don't know. You can't know what you don't know. So now that they have the book, they may still choose to go a cheap route, but at least they know the processes involved in producing a good book. They know what's involved in marketing and selling it. We're also aligning authors' expectations with reality, because I think there was also this idea that you publish your book and it's just going to sell millions. What authors don't realize is that the stories you hear about are the 1 in a million.
Correct.
Yeah,
it is 1 in a million. One of the chapters in the book that I really found interesting was where we're looking at funding. I mean, it's like me saying, well, how much is it going to cost? You could say, well, how long is a piece of string? So what I want to do is tie the funding into, I think I have a story to tell, I'm able to write, I'd like to publish a book. I don't want to do fiction, I want to specialize in what I do, and that would be communications. So I have an idea for a book. I make an appointment with you. Take me through the process of what Quick Fox Publishing does, so that we can eventually get to the point where I could publish like a pro. So I've walked through the door. What's my journey with you from here?
Okay. It all starts with a consultation. First of all, we need to know what type of book you're publishing, and what is your vision, why are you publishing? What is your vision for the book? Are you wanting mainstream bookstore distribution? Is it to promote your company brand? Is it a heart project? And then we assess the viability of the project. So we would have a quick look at the manuscript. Does it align with your vision? In other words, if you're wanting bookstore distribution, is your manuscript currently good enough for that? Is the content solid? Is it well written? Understandably, there are editorial processes that happen, but you still need good content to begin with. You must remember that the more effort an editor puts in, the more expensive it's going to be. So it's really good to try and do as much as you can yourself. So we will assess that. We will look at the approximate budget and whether it's in line with what the author can afford. If the author's wanting to produce a heart project or perhaps even a personal project, it could be a family history book. Obviously, we don't have to throw all the heavy professional resources at it. Sometimes it's just a case of designing and making it up. Other times, if an author wants bookstore distribution, which most authors do, it's a completely different story. You have to go professional. It's all in there, no shortcuts. You've got to do it properly. So we assess that. Once we've done that, we recommend a manuscript evaluation. In other words, what extra work is needed on the manuscript? How do we get it into marketable shape, or should I say publishable shape? The author has an opportunity to integrate or use the feedback from the evaluation to improve the manuscript. Then we enter into a production process and we guide everything the whole way. So we will put it into editorial. Once it's come back from that, it goes into design. Once it comes back from that, we then go into ebook conversion and printing. And then finally, we make it available online and in bricks and mortar bookstores. So we set all of that up. The last stage in the process, and in fact this is something we assess right at the beginning as well, is the author geared up to actually market the book? What is the author profile? So that actually happens right at the beginning, because if we see that the author, for instance, is publishing fiction but hates leaving the house, absolutely is terrified of meeting people and promoting themselves, self-publishing is definitely not the route to go. And even at that stage, we would say, rather get an evaluation done and fix up the manuscript, get it into tip-top shape and approach a traditional publisher. So self-publishing is not for every author, and we do, as a company, not all companies do this. Many will take the money, produce a product and then leave the author with a pile of books that they can do nothing with. We don't believe in that. So that also happens at the beginning.
Okay, so the one thing that you've just said now that comes through so clearly in the book is that you don't take people's money and walk away. Even through the process of reading the book, you've taken my hand and you've guided me through the process. The decision then is, what do I want to do? Do I actually want to self-publish? We're living in a world where content is king. And we all have valuable stories to share. It's just about, how do you want to share it? Do you want to go the self-publishing route, or do you want to stay online and just grow your blog? But certainly this Publish Like a Pro, and I love this line, it says, the complete guide to successful and profitable self-publishing. Yeah, from your lips to God's ears.
I hope, yes.
Vanessa,
much of it depends on the author, obviously.
Absolutely. But a great book. Thank you for giving me a copy to read. I'm so pleased to be able to share it. Vanessa, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. And I really hope that we see a book coming out of you in the near future.